CBSE Board, Class 9, History, Chapter 2, Part 6, Audio by Rini Matthew. Now we have to see how the socialism started spreading in Russia, whether the conditions there were favorable for socialism, what incident actually sparked off socialism in Russia, because in the beginning of the chapter itself we saw that socialism gained clutch, it took over especially in Russia. All political parties were illegal in Russia before 1914. So you know that the Tsar of Russia, the ruling power of Russia, who was very strict, did not allow any illegal actions or illegal meetings to be held in Russia. We saw how the previous slide showed us about a socialist worker. He was recalling on how they had the meetings inside the building. It was so secretive. Now we have two parties here. Before I start with this slide, you should know that there are two parties. One is the Russian Social Democratic Workers' Party, which is SDWP, okay, Social Democratic Workers' Party. Then you have another party known as the General Socialist Revolutionary. So keep this point in mind. They are not the same. They did not fight for the same cause. They had two different disciplines and two different ideologies also. Of course, they followed socialism, but the purpose for which they revolted were different. So now let's look at SDWP. Now this particular party was founded in 1898 and they always followed what Marx told, Karl Marx. So I'll keep the cursor on the point while I'm explaining it. So here can you see Marx? They followed Marx ideas, and because of government policing, it had to operate as an illegal organization. Because Marx also told that it will not be very easy for the government to accept whatever they propagated. So they had to have secretive meetings. So when it is secret, when it is not accounted by the government, it becomes illegal. So remember that legal organizations are the ones which is supported by the government. So what did they do? What were the illegal things that they did? They set up newspaper, mobilized workers, organized strikes. So all these things were against the will of the government. So that is why it was not legal. Now some Russian socialists felt that the Russian peasants were very important, and we saw that they had a natural way of dividing the land on which they worked. It was not by the consent of the government that they did that, but we have seen that the Russian peasants were not like the other peasants of other countries. They were more fiercer, they reacted very fast, they were also very aggressive to whatever was happening in the society. So what did they do? Parallelly, they used to divide the land that they had, and they used to divide the profit also. It was not happening in the other countries this way. Okay? So, peasants, not workers, the peasants were considered as the main force of the revolution, especially according to Karl Marx. And Russia could become socialist more quickly than other countries because the peasants over here were very strong, not the workers. They were so strong, so Russia could progress in socialism faster than the other countries. The next point is, socialists were active in the countryside, okay, because they had more attachment to the countryside, the village. Through the 19th century, they were more active in the countryside because peasantry is found in the countryside. And because of that, they formed another party which was known as the Socialist Revolutionary Party in 1900. So remember this point. Socialists formed the Socialist Revolutionary Party. The other one was formed by the peasants. It was a union of the peasants. Now the next point. This particular party struggled for peasants' rights and demanded that land belonging to nobles be transferred to peasants. So they also fought for the peasants. What was the exact point where they fought? The two parties I told you about, the Social Democrats and the Socialist Revolutionaries. Both of them fought for the workers and the peasants. But what did the Socialist Revolutionary Party demand? They told that the lands should be transferred from the nobles to the peasants. And what happened? There was a disagreement. Regarding the peasants, whether it has to be transferred or not. So, Lenin felt that peasants were not one united group. Some were poor and others rich. Some worked as laborers while others were capitalists who employed workers. So, we can see that the peasants were really powerful, where the divisions also happened amongst the peasants. Lot of divisions according to the wealth, according to the social rank, was there among the peasants also. They were not one group like how we had in France. In France, peasants means only one group. Here there was a subdivision within the peasants also, where some were rich, some worked as laborers, and the others, what did they do? They employed other people as workers. So because of that, Lenin, who was a part of the Socialist Revolutionary Group, felt that there is no need to transfer land to all the peasants, because some of the peasants were already rich. But the other group did not say like that. Which one? The SDWP party did not say like that. They were like, the land which was belonging, the land belongings of the nobles should be transferred to the peasants. That was their demand, and everybody did not agree to it, especially Lenin. Now, who is Lenin? The party was divided over the strategy of organization. So that is why it was divided. Now let's see who is Lenin. Can you see the picture of Lenin on top right hand corner? Vladimir Lenin. He was a person who led the Bolshevik group, thought that in a repressive society like Tsarist Russia, Russia was really strong, it was repressive, it was aggressive. The party should be disciplined and should control the number and quality of its members. So, Bolshevik group was a little more stricter than the Mensheviks. So he felt that discipline is very important, especially in an aggressive society like this, and there should be control over the number and quality of the workers. So he was very particular about all these things and he followed it. But what about the Mensheviks? This Mensheviks thought that the party should be open to all. It's not that there shouldn't be any discipline, but it should be open to everybody, just like how it was in Germany. So keep these two groups in mind, the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks. Now, how did the turbulent come into being? Turbulence means disturbance. A turbulent time, the 1905 revolution. So, what is the meaning of the word autocracy? Can you see the bubble at the bottom of the screen? Autocracy means unlimited power in the hands of one particular individual. Now, Russia was an autocracy where power was vested in the hands of one person. Unlike other European rulers, even at the beginning of the 20th century, the Tsar was not subject to parliament. So parliament could not do anything to the Tsar. The Tsar was free. He was free to take decisions. He did not have to consult with the parliament at all. Now, we know that there was a group called as the liberals in Russia. They campaigned to end this state of affairs because they were really fed up with what was happening. So together with the Social Democrats, that is one party, and the Socialist Revolutionaries, the liberals worked with them. They worked with the peasants and workers. You should remember that the peasants were the ones who worked on the land. Workers included the people who even worked in the industries. There were two different groups. So along with the peasants, workers, Social Democrats and Socialist Revolutionaries during the revolution of 1905 to demand a constitution. So liberals went to these two groups, united them and brought them together because one was fighting for the peasant and the other was fighting for the workers. Okay, the other was also fighting for the peasants, but they had different ideology on the property. One told that we have to transfer property. The other one said no need to transfer property because some of the peasants were also rich. Now, this particular group, that is the liberals, when they decided to join with SDWP and SRP parties, they were supported in the empire by nationalists, in Poland for instance, and in Muslim-dominated areas by Jadidis, who wanted modernized Islam to lead the society. So we saw that Muslims were also predominant in that particular country, and nationalists can be of any number of people of any ideology. So who supported them? The nationalists, especially the Muslims. What do you mean by Jadidis? It means Muslim dominated places in Russia. It was very particular to the Russian Muslims who really wanted modern Islam to be followed here. Alright? Now the next slide. So, the year 1905 was a particularly bad one for Russian workers. Why was it a bad one? This particular part is very important. The reasons are given here. First one is, prices of essential goods rose. Essential means the basic goods just went up so quickly that real wages declined by 20%. So, they were paid very less wages, but the price of the basic goods just went up. So when the prices are going up, they have to be paid properly, but that was not happening. And it really led to a big revolt. That was the first reason. Now, the membership of Workers' Association. We saw earlier that some of the peasants and workers, good-hearted ones, they formed associations and they started helping the others in times of distress. They started collecting funds. So, the membership, you have to have a membership in the workers' associations. That also rose dramatically. When 4 members of the Assembly Russian workers, which had been formed in 1904, were dismissed at the Pitlilov Iron Works, there was a call for industrial action. So 4 people from the association, because of not paying the membership or something like that, when they were dismissed, there was a great problem in Putilov Iron Works and there was a great industrial action. So that is seen on the left hand side of the screen. There's a picture there. So big uprising was there when 4 members were dismissed, because after all, the purpose of these kind of organization or association is to support the workers, but now 4 were dismissed, and that too based on the membership. Next one is about Petersburg. Remember that St. Petersburg and Moscow were the industrial places in Russia. So over the next few days, over 110,000 workers in St. Petersburg went on strike. Why? They wanted a reduction in the working day to 8 hours, because now they were working to 12 to 14 hours. So they wanted people to just work for 8 hours, and along with that, they wanted an increase in wages and also improvement in working conditions. So 3 demands. One is to increase the working day to 8 hours, just to reduce it, that is limit the working hours, to increase the wages, and also to improve the working conditions. Those were the demands. Now, how did this happen? The St. Petersburg problem was a great one which caused a big commotion in the history of Russia when the procession of workers led by Father Gapon. So Father Gapon had led this procession, reached the Winter Palace. It was attacked by the police and the Cossacks. So can you see Cossack at the bottom of the screen? It is a member of a people of Ukraine, and they are noted for their military skill and horsemanship. They are specially trained people apart from the police force. So from St. Petersburg factory, they started marching under the leadership of Father Gapon to Winter Palace, and they were attacked by the police and Cossacks. Over 100 workers were killed and about 300 wounded. So will they keep quiet? No, because 110,000 altogether started marching. So this particular incident was known as the Bloody Sunday, and it started a series of events that became known as the 1905 revolution. So once the workers were beaten, once the workers were badly wounded, there were a series of revolution. There were a series of events. It is not just 1 or 2 events which took place. After that, there was a sequence of events, and that is why it is known as the Bloody Sunday. So what happened during that particular event? Strikes took place all over the country. So after that particular day, lot of strikes were organized. It's not that the workers just kept quiet and got scared. Okay, strikes took place. Universities closed down. Okay, when students started walking out, they started complaining. They also started taking part in these kind of strikes, and they were also worried about the lack of civil liberties. Then what about the professionals? So first is about the workers, then the students, lawyers, doctors, engineers, and other middle class workers established the Union of Unions and demanded a constituent assembly. So everybody got together and they said that we want a body known as the Union of Unions, and they really wanted a constituent assembly, and no longer Russia can be really ruled this way.